Why did my quiet grandfather have a photo in a uniform? I found the photo in the hospital drawer and I was shocked. The picture showed him in a uniform no one in our family knew. He smiled, but his eyes looked far away. I asked my mother. She lied. She said it was a mistake, a lost picture. But the truth did not leave me. I felt a secret and a broken promise around that photo. My grandfather had made a blood oath long ago. Did he break it? Who had he protected? I was in a hospital room, my hand on his cold shoulder, and I suddenly understood there was danger in truth. I needed to know. I felt fear, but I felt more anger. Who betrayed our family? Who hid his past? The nurse closed the door softly and a step came down the hall. I opened the drawer again and found another paper. What was I going to do now? My name is Kareem. I sit in a small hospital room. My grandfather is in bed. He breathes slow. A machine beeps in the corner. I hold his thin hand. My eyes go to the drawer. It is not locked. I open it. I find a black and white photo. A man in a uniform stands in it. He is young, with the same face as my grandfather. I feel my heart hit my ribs. I call my mother. She comes fast. Her face is pale. She sees the photo and she looks away. I ask, "Who is this?" She says, "It is a friend." I do not trust her words. I look at the uniform. The jacket has a small badge. I know this badge. It is from a hospital far away. My grandfather never left our town. How could he wear this uniform? The nurse comes in with a prescription and asks if we need anything. I say, "No." The nurse leaves. My mother sits near me. She touches the photo with her finger. Her hand shakes. I ask about the blood oath. My grandfather told me once, long ago, that he and a friend made a blood oath. The oath was to keep a secret. My mother suddenly gets angry. She says, "You should not dig up old things." I say, "But why did he hide this?" She cries and says, "It is not for you." I want the truth. I tell my mother that I will find out. I leave the room for a short time. In the hall I see an old nurse who worked with my grandfather. She stops and looks at me. She whispers, "Be careful. Some truths bring danger." I feel cold. I go back to the room. My grandfather opens his eyes for a second and says, "Kareem, promise me." His voice is very weak. I bend down. "I promise," I say. He closes his eyes again. The machine beeps louder. I hold the photo in my hand and see a folded paper behind it. The paper has a stamp from a city I have never heard. I slide the paper into my pocket. I feel a new fear. Who had my family protected? I hear footsteps down the hall. A man in a coat stops at our door. The man says my grandfather's name. I freeze. The cliff comes, he has a key to that secret. My grandfather's funeral is near. The hospital room feels empty. I keep the photo and the paper in my pocket. I go to the old nurse. Her name is Layla. She sits in a small chair in the hospital canteen. Her face is soft, but her eyes are sharp. I show her the picture. She studies it and her lips move. She says, "This man saved many lives." I say, "Who is he?" Layla looks around and leans close. She whispers, "He was part of a secret team. In the war, he and others made a blood oath to protect one family. They promised to hide that family and never speak of them." My head spins. I ask, "Why hide them?" She says, "Because that family held a dangerous truth. They kept a ledger. They knew names. When the war ended, the oath stayed. Your grandfather kept his promise. He lied to you all. I feel betrayed. My mother had lied too. I want to ask her why. I go home and find the house cold. My sister shivers in the kitchen. She tells me our mother is at the market. I go to our mother's small room. I find old letters and a sealed envelope. The seal is broken. The letter inside is in my grandfather's hand. He writes about a child he saved. The child was like a son to him. He wrote that he could not tell anyone. He wrote, "I break my oath only if danger comes back." I read this and my hands shake. I do not know what danger can return now. The paper in my pocket has a stamp from a hospital in another city. I call the number on the stamp. A man answers. He says, "We are closed to visitors, but we have records." I ask for records. He says, "Why?" I say, "For my grandfather." He says, "Name?" I give the name. He says nothing for a long time. Then he says, "He was Dr. Farid?" My breath stops. My grandfather was a doctor overseas. My mind runs. I go back to the hospital. I ask the head nurse for a diagnosis paper. She looks at my visitor pass. She says, "We can pull files with family permission." My mother must sign. I go to her. She sits like a small woman on a chair. I ask, "Tell me the truth now." She covers her face and begins to cry. She says, "We made a deal. A man came years ago. He said our family would be safe if we never asked. We promised. We hid the photo. We obeyed. For years we lived like strangers to our own past. I feel anger and sorrow. I ask, who came? She looks at the ceiling and whispers, a man in a dark coat. He took the oath paper and kept it. He said, if this oath breaks, your family will suffer. I think of danger. I think of the man with the key in the hospital. I think of the stamp. I decide to travel to the other hospital. I will find his records and the ledger. I will learn why my grandfather lied for a blood oath. I pack the photo and the paper. My sister tries to stop me, but I walk out. The city smells like rain. I feel 100 eyes on me. In the bus, a woman drops a newspaper. The front page shows a name I know. The name is the one on the stamp. My heart stops. Who else knows? The cliff, a car follows me as I leave the city. I arrive at the distant hospital in the afternoon. The building is old, with a sign that browns at the edges. Inside, a receptionist checks my ID. I say, I want records for Dr. Farid. She types and says, we have an archive room. The records are old. A tall woman in a gray coat walks out. She looks like the man who followed me, but she is a woman. She smiles and says, you must be Kareem. I am Amina. I worked with your grandfather. I feel hope and fear. She takes me to a small office. On the desk is a medical folder with Dr. Farid's name. I open it and see notes. There is a treatment plan for one patient. The patient name is not known to my family. There is also an entry, oath to protect patient and ledger. If broken, notify M. The letter M hits me. I ask Amina, who is M? She says, M is the man who gave the order during the conflict. We all promised. Your grandfather kept the patient and the ledger safe. The patient was the child of a man who exposed crimes. The ledger had names of powerful men. We hid it. We made a list of those men to make sure they would be punished later. But your grandfather saw a danger. He took the ledger and he swore to hide it forever if the danger came back. My hands feel ice cold. Amina opens a drawer and shows me a small wooden box. Inside is a folded blood-stained ribbon. The ribbon is the sign of the blood oath. Amina says, your grandfather came to me last year. He said the danger returns. He asked me to keep the box and wait for you. My mouth is dry. I ask, why did he hide the uniform and the truth? Amina leans forward. Because he wanted to protect you. He knew that if the truth came out, those names would cause more death. He chose to protect a few and live with a lie. He broke the oath once. He told no one that he broke it then. He kept the ledger hidden in the hospital drawer. He wrote pages and hid them inside a book. After he left the country, he sent us one photograph to prove he was alive. He never told his family. I sit back. I think of all the nights my grandfather sat quiet. I remember his hands on my shoulder. I remember his small smile when he hid a story. I ask Amina, who followed me? Who wants the ledger now? She looks at the window and whispers, the man with the key is from a powerful group. They want the ledger because it can destroy them. They will stop at nothing. The hospital suddenly feels cold. I realize my family is in danger. I must decide. Do I open the ledger and tell the truth? Or do I keep the promise my grandfather almost kept? I think about my grandfather's blood and his last words. He said, "Promise me you will choose the right time." I feel the weight of that promise on my chest. A phone rings in the office. Amina picks it up and her face goes white. She says, "They found the ledger. Someone took it from the drawer last night." My heart drops. The cliff, the ledger is missing and someone is coming for me. The ledger is missing. I stand in the hospital corridor and feel alone. Amina takes my hand. She says, "We can still find copies. Your grandfather made copies and left them with trusted friends." I close my eyes and see my grandfather's face. I remember his weak voice, "Promise me." I make a new plan. We call Layla and another old nurse. They meet us in the ICU. They bring a small packet of papers and a key. The key opens a locker in my grandfather's old clinic. Inside the clinic we find one thin notebook. It has names and short notes. The notebook is not the full ledger, but it is a start. I read and my chest hurts. The names are of men with power. If we show this to the public, the men will lose everything. If we hide it, those men will keep hurting people. I choose truth. We give the notebook to a trusted reporter. She promises to check and protect us. The reporter writes an article. The story spreads. People demand a full investigation. The men try to silence us. A car follows our reporter one night, but the public watches and the danger falters. My family is safe now. My mother apologizes for the lies. She says, "We were afraid. We thought hiding would save you." I take her hand and say, "We needed to know the truth to choose right." My grandfather dies after that night. At his funeral many people come, some we never knew. The hospital nurse who once warned us smiles and says, "He kept a secret, but he made the right choice at the end." The lesson stays with me. Promises and blood ties are heavy. We must keep our moral oath, but we must also change when the world is not fair. The truth can hurt, but it can heal. I learned to forgive my mother and to honor my grandfather by telling the truth. I keep his blue uniform photo in my wallet. When I look at it, I remember his choice. I know now that hidden pasts can teach us how to be brave. The final line, I close my grandfather's eyes and whisper, you kept your promise, but you left me the truth. I will not break it.